go, you can still go. Even when you feel slow, you can still go. Even when there's no hope, you can still go. I never answer to no, man, I still go. Go, 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 go. Hustle hard, hustle every single day. I'll be making moves till I'm buried.
And this is brought to you by JiMMYBAR.
I don't wanna be a slave. I've been doing shit my way.
Yep, that's what he does. He flares that jab, gets straight to the takedown. Holland had the right thing. He had the right thing to do, is like scramble Granby, do things of that nature. Yep, outside trip. Trying to just finding different angles. Chimaev is constantly chain wrestling, and he's constantly looking for top control. Yep, Holland's doing the right thing. Yeah, you see, that's the last thing. You black belts and mixed martial arts guys, it could be overrated, man. That's why getting to your feet, Jose Aldo style, is the best thing that you could do. He's gotta scramble. Get up, find the cage, find the cage, find the cage. Yup, too slow. You gotta find the cage before he wraps his hands. Yep, Granby, yup, get to your feet. This is why folk style wrestling is the best, to get to your feet. Look at Khamzat's already huffing and puffing. People need to take a look at that too. It's God, dude, not even a minute in. Not even 2 minutes in. Yeah, he's going straight dark. Yep, then he got a bigger bite. Then he readjusted. And that's all she wrote. What's up, everybody? Welcome to this episode of The Aftermath, where we're going to be breaking down the aftermath of Nate Diaz versus Tony Ferguson and Khamzat Chimaev versus Kevin Holland. UFC 279 really took a turn. But I tell you what, it took a turn for the best. We saw the brawl that happened prior to these guys not having the press conference. So I thought what Dana White and the UFC did was actually pretty amazing. So let's get started. I would like to break down the co-main event, which was Khamzat Chimaev versus Kevin Holland. I tell you what, these are two guys that really were down each other's throats. You know, who's gang shit, who's not, blah, blah, blah. But at the end of the day, they had a chance to settle it in the octagon. One thing that I will say about Khamzat Chimaev is he does a really good job. If people don't see this, and they don't understand it, he does a really good job of the beginning of the bell of how he covers distance. Boom. How he flares that jab. This dude is literally running until he knows he's in position to penetrate. As he throws and he flares that jab in front of the face, he's going. But the first thing first, guys, this is what he's doing. At the bell, the whistle, he takes the distance, boom, right now he's going. He's running, but he gets into position where he's good to eventually find the shot, to eventually take his opponent down and start looking for his choke. Whether it's arm triangles, whatever it may be, he's always in front. If you notice, he's never, especially in this fight with Kevin Holland, he was never below the legs. He was always up top, looking to control. I thought Kevin Holland did a really good job of grabbing. He would get taken down, which was making it really, really hard in the beginning for Khamzat to be able to catch things. Grabbing this way, but Khamzat did a really good job of sticking to him, staying on his hips, and pretty much just riding him. But again, man, Khamzat was able to find his choke. he was able to find the chokes that he wanted. Went through scrambles to eventually catch the submission. One thing I will say about that fight with Khamzat Chimaev is, yeah, he fought a dude that has no grappling, no wrestling. He has grappling. Apparently he's a jiu-jitsu black belt. I don't see it, but a guy that doesn't have any wrestling defense. He ended up getting the victory, but my biggest thing is what's questionable. It could be potentially Khamzat's gas tank, his threshold, because in a minute here, when he ended up in this position, the head and arm position, and I could see his stomach doing this. I could see his stomach doing that, and just his threshold, I think, in my eyes. But overall, the way I would grade Khamzat is, Khamzat is legit, but what is it when he goes up against guys like Gilbert Burns, the top fives, a Kobe Covington, Kamaru Usman, guys that have made their careers just based on wrestling. These 5-round veterans, that's the biggest question. So number one, I would say for Khamzat is, man, he's really good at covering distance. That's his biggest asset of when it is that he's actually gonna penetrate. He'll run, flare that jab to eventually catch that level change, to penetrate, to take his opponent down, and then he starts working. He does a really, really good job in that aspect. You know, Khamzat's talking about going up to 2 divisions. He's talking about going up to 185 to middleweight, and then obviously he wants to win the belt at 170, but he's gonna if he wants it, first of all, I think the matchup for him at 170 pounds, it's gonna be, it's gonna be Kobe Covington. I did a poll not too long ago, and it seemed like everybody wanted that Kobe Covington fight for Khamzat Chimaev, and I like that fight because we're gonna see how great his threshold, his cardiovascular, his condition is gonna be with the 5-round veteran like Kobe Covington. If he wants to get to the title shot, that's his only option right now, because after not making weight, after being 8 pounds over, they're not gonna give him a shot. The other option too, at 185 pounds, if he would like, there's 2 guys for him. There is Paulo Costa and there is Robert Whittaker. But looking at his post-fight interview, I don't think he wants a piece of Robert Whittaker. I don't think so. And I actually agree with Khamzat. I think a guy like Robert Whittaker would be his kryptonite. A guy that understands distance, a guy that could crack, a guy that understands the distance game very, very well. A guy that could get to his feet. I think that's the toughest matchup for him. The other one is Paulo Costa. As you guys know, there's some beef between those dudes. I think that would probably be a better option for him, just for the simple fact that there's a storyline already set in place. And if he's able to beat a tough guy like Paulo Costa, who will defend you, who has power in his hands, who ain't afraid of you, then I think you can guarantee yourself a title shot at 185 pounds against Israel Adesanya. And I think him fighting Israel Adesanya, I think that's a really, really good fight for him, just for the simple fact that his wrestling will overwhelm. So that's my breakdown of Khamzat Chimaev. I think he's got a bright future, but I also think he needs to get his shit together when it comes to getting his weight down. And I also think that he does have the ability to go to 2 weight classes and do some special things. But we have to see it first. So that's your breakdown. The aftermath of Khamzat Chimaev versus Kevin Holland. I'm out! And now let's get into the main event. Nate Diaz versus Tony Ferguson. I tell you what, man, this fight was kind of taking a turn here for a minute, because I thought the majority of this fight was I thought the boxing of Nate Diaz with that jab and then eventually catching him here, or he was going right hand hook, and he was eventually catching Tony Ferguson for the first couple rounds. But I thought by the time round 3 came, the waves and the tides started changing. Tony Ferguson really started using his unpredictable style, kick the leg in whichever way he could as he would walk, and it made Diaz very hard to catch Tony Ferguson, because Tony Ferguson was constantly moving. As we saw, I mean, they were taking breaks to the point where Nate Diaz was trying to play those mind games to being able to go to the cage, you talk to Dana White, or talk to whomever to kind of, you know, make the fight interesting. Again, this was a fight of two veterans. My question is for Nate Diaz is what's next for him? I think he's going to get into the boxing game. I think he's going to eventually get into the boxing game. And just to finish up here, I think the biggest thing is Tony's corner wasn't wrong by telling Tony, hey, go for the takedown, go for the shot. I was like that. To me, it's all about winning. I don't necessarily cheer for one dude, but to me, it's all about the tactical and the competitive game. And who is it that's gonna do what? That's gonna completely change the fight. So, you know, I heard in round 4, I believe, yeah, right after, you know, getting into round 4, Nate Diaz's corner, Tony Ferguson's corner, they told him, hey, he's like, hey, Tony, go for the takedown. And they're right, they're 100% right. But he was doing such a good job here of kicking the legs that you tell it started changing the mobility of Tony Ferguson. Of Nate Diaz. But eventually Tony Ferguson ended up shooting. Boom! Which led to the guillotine. And you know how Nate does it. Nate the Great, and he eventually got the tap out. So these are all good things. I do believe this fight of two OG mixed martial artists was good. It was good for the fans. It was good for, most importantly, Nate Diaz, because I believe Nate Diaz did deserve somebody like Tony Ferguson for them to share the octagon and you know, and to end, if possibly it is to end his career in the UFC, that's cool. But I think there's a lot of money to be made for Nate Diaz, so I think him going out and being a free agent could really change a lot of things for a lot of us fighters. You know, the UFC shouldn't be the only place where you can make money. You know, you can self-promote, you're able to sell a ticket and make a whole lot of money. I think what's next for Nate Diaz is I think the winner between Jake Paul and Anderson Silva. I think we're going to see Nate Diaz front row. I think he gets. I think if Jake Paul, for whatever reason, does beat Anderson Silva, God, I think he's gonna make his millions. Because these are two guys that are that been down each other's throats and they've attended each other's fights, and it's a good storyline for both. So happy for Nate Diaz. I think there's a lot of things that are open for him in the future. Potentially Conor McGregor, which will be huge as well. I mean, there's a lot of things, and then eventually him coming back to the UFC. So there's so many options when you have a name, when you have a persona, and especially when you're an entertainer for the crowd and you win, you know, the sky's the limit. So that's your breakdown. UFC Aftermath, UFC 279, Nate Diaz versus Tony Ferguson, Khamzat Chimaev versus Kevin Holland, and I'm your host, aka Triple C Henry Cejudo, and we are out! So thank you guys again for watching. It means a lot to me. So you guys remember, there's more breakdown, there's more technique, there's more tactics, and there's definitely more cringe. So make sure to subscribe and click on that button. I'm out!